Let's move to the USA. Derek Chauvin has been found guilty of murdering George Floyd. The jury found the former Minneapolis police officer guilty on all 3 counts: second-degree murder, third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. Chauvin's bail was immediately revoked. He was escorted out of court in handcuffs. Of course, this issue resonates for us here in South Africa, particularly with the tragic news of the killing in Hawaii last week of South African Lindani Mnyane at the hands of police there. Let's discuss these and other stories with our Washington correspondent, Simon Marks. Hi there, Simon. Thank you so much for joining us. So, Derek Chauvin, he'll be sentenced in 2 months. He could serve 4 decades behind bars, but is he likely to appeal?
Well, the appeal is automatic, actually, Sally, in the state of Minnesota. So, yes, he will be appealing, but clearly that's going to take a while to work through the system. And before that happens, sentencing, as you said, will be occurring in 2 months' time. Up to 40 years he could face on the most serious charge of which he was convicted, second-degree unintentional murder. And I think that when the judge in the case yesterday read that verdict, it was really a moment for millions of Americans to feel that they could exhale, that the tensions of the last year, specifically in Minneapolis, were reaching some kind of a conclusion, and a message was being sent by the jury to police forces across the country that now, for the first time in recent memory, a white police officer is facing substantial judicial sanctions for the brutality that he meted out to an unarmed black suspect, albeit one whose death was videotaped by bystanders in images that went viral globally. No one, I think, celebrating in Minneapolis and commemorating George Floyd's life last night thinks that this changes everything in the United States, but it is an incremental advance on the path towards equity in terms of police treatment of minority suspects.
Yeah, and that, of course, brings us to a story very close to home for us. Lindani Mnyane killed by 3 police officers in Hawaii last week. What is the latest on that? Of course, it's massive news here in South Africa. Is it big news in the USA as well?
I have to say it's less massive news in the United States, Sally, than it is in South Africa. But unfortunately, that is a reflection of the fact that there are so many incidents of police violence that the American media is largely focusing on those closer to home than Hawaii. So, I mean, 30 minutes before the Derek Chauvin verdict was handed down, a 15-year-old girl was shot to death by police in Ohio as she threatened 2 other teenagers with a knife. We also saw the incident involving Daunte Wright in Minnesota as the Derek Chauvin trial was taking place. The latest statement from police in Honolulu say that 2 officers remain on injured leave. The other is expected to return to work later this week, and the police investigation into the case is continuing. So there is no indication of charges yet being forthcoming.
That's astonishing. Changing focus now, Simon, and that's to the vaccine. The FDA and the CDC last week talking about pausing, and they have paused the Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine rollout over a possible link with a very rare blood clot disorder. We've done the same thing here in South Africa. Any update from authorities in the USA on when they're lifting that pause?
Yeah, there's no indication of when they're going to lift the pause. They suggested that it was going to be for 7 to 10 days. That was about 5 or 6 days ago. In the intervening period, of course, the European medicines regulator has said that the benefits of the J&J vaccine outweigh the very rare risks of serious blood clots. But, of course, the Food and Drug Administration here will want to come to its own conclusions. It has been quite chilling in many ways, the impact of all of this, because so many Americans were planning to get that single-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine and, of course, had their vaccine appointments cancelled. Nonetheless, the pace has picked up to the point where later today President Biden is expected to announce that 200 million vaccinations have now been administered in the United States. He argues that the country is on the path to getting its population vaccinated, even currently without the Johnson & Johnson shot being available.
And Simon, finally, you're not going to be travelling to see us here in South Africa anytime soon.
Well, I could travel to see you in South Africa if I wanted to, Sally, but I would then have to be breaking the latest guidelines from the State Department, because just within the last few hours, the State Department has put out a level 4 travel alert for South Africa, telling Americans not to travel to the country due to COVID-19, but also due to violent crime. It lists armed robbery, rape, carjacking, mugging and smash and grab attacks as another reason why it argues Americans should stay away. I think it is important to underscore that this is not something that is specifically targeting South Africa. This is the State Department engaging in a complete recalibration of travel guidance for more than 100 countries around the world, and much more broadly than it's been doing up until now, telling Americans that because of COVID-19 they should be staying home. But it is important to underscore these are only recommendations. If someone can find a way of getting to South Africa, and of course if South Africa wants to let them in, then they can still go without any fear of sanction.
Thank you so much. Simon Marks, our correspondent in Washington. Always great to chat to you. Now let's